I am recording this so that
forgot to remind you.
I started it. So I am recording it for the folks that can't be here today live so they can watch it later, just so you know. And then for folks that are just joining us, we're doing some introductions in the chat box right now. So just, you know, let folks know where you're joining in from, what library you're representing. And if the library name isn't necessarily, or the town name isn't in the library name, go ahead and let us know where that is too. Hi, Rachel and Holly and Jessica, Kate and Erna, welcome. We're just going to give it another minute here for folks to get settled. And just another friendly reminder that this is set up as a meeting, so you're able to turn your cameras on and you'll be able to unmute and ask questions as we go through today's session. And we'll get started here in just a second. I just want to make sure that nobody's having any issues getting into the room here.
Okay.
All right. Are we ready to go, Kate?
We are. I'm just trying to get my gallery back. I'm only seeing you, so that's weird. Before,
Oh, maybe if there's a bar at the top, if there's like a multiple boxes, that might get you from speaker view.
We'll see. I'll keep working on it. I'm ready.
Okay. All right, so quick overview of what we're going to cover today. We're trying to be keep it to this 1 hour session, so it's going to be jam-packed. Whoops. So there's going to be kind of a bounce between myself. So I'm Ashley Eaton. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Watershed and Lake Education Coordinator at the University of Vermont with Lake Champlain Sea Grant and Extension in the University of Vermont Extension. And our partner on this project has been Fletcher Free Library, and Kate has been basically essential to the development of this. So I'll let Kate introduce herself real quick.
Hi, I'm Kate. Oh, am I on? Yep.
You're on.
Myself. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. So I'm Kate from the Fletcher Free Library. I work in youth services, and this great booklet came through to the library last fall, and I got a hold of it and thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to make some STEAM kits out of this? And then that's how the story begins, with Ashley and I chatting over how to turn a booklet into kittable science activities. And here we are today. Yay!
Yay! Okay, so we're going to give you just an overview of the kits, how to care for the kits, and then we're going to do a little mini unboxing of each of the kits that we delivered, so kit 1 and kit 2, and then there's a couple components that we'll reference you to. There's some additional resources around some of the chemical videos, and then also participants have an opportunity to enter their data, so I'll just talk you through that. And so if you just hopped on, just a note, this is being recorded for folks that can't make it live today. Great. So as Kate mentioned, this kind of got kickstarted when we put together this Watershed Explorer Challenge booklet. And so most of you first heard from me when I reached out via the Vermont Library listserv. We launched this project. It was a COVID response project to take kind of the traditional stuff that we would do in stream and on lake with students and provide it in kind of a booklet format that was more of a kind of outdoor challenge, but also a learning experience that could really be completed whether you live near water or not. And so this booklet went out to libraries and local community hubs and was basically just geared towards building some ecological literacy around watershed and water quality issues here in Vermont and in the greater Lake Champlain Basin in New York as well. And so most of you should be pretty familiar with this. And then kind of the STEAM kits, I'll let Kate do a quick overview of kind of the philosophy behind putting these kits together.
Sure. I'm feeling very distracted. Oh, somebody's talking. Is that a question? No. I'm feeling very distracted because I can't see myself. Somehow I got rid of my gallery view. And so anyway, if I'm looking off into the wrong direction, it's just because I'm discombobulated. So these kits came about because I went through the booklet and thought to myself, the Fletcher Free Library is doing these take-home STEAM kits, and it would be an opportunity for folks who didn't have opportunities to go out into nature or materials to take into nature to do hands-on science work to have the materials at their library that they could check out and get involved in real world citizen science. So my first step was to reach out to Ashley and ask her what she thought about transferring them into or partnering the booklet and actual science materials, and thought that families in particular would really get into taking this opportunity from the library out and exploring Lake Champlain and the Lake Champlain watershed.
Yeah. And
anything else I missed?
yeah, I was just going to say that. So then Kate and I basically concocted this plan, and we got a grant through the Lake Champlain Basin program to put these kits together to be able to deliver them to you all at no cost. So we kind of just synergistically, as we were kind of putting together what this might look like, there was a grant opportunity, kind of a local one here in Vermont. And so we were able to go after that and get it, which is really great, because some of the equipment is a little bit pricey. So the next piece that, and Kate, I think maybe your screen is flipped. Your camera is flipped.
Oh, maybe it is. Let me see. I'm still not getting myself or any of the other participants, and I just
weird.
can't. Yeah, I'm still looking.
Okay. All right. Okay. And so the next piece is just talking a little bit about some of the kit care and maintenance now that you've had a chance to check out kind of what each of the kits has, and thinking about, cataloging that and managing that as that comes in and out from the library.
Great. So that's me. So I think, as I just said, the Fletcher Free Library started doing STEAM kits this past year during the pandemic as a way of pushing materials, some that we already had, out into the community. So you all know STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And we've learned a lot of lessons by making kits. So we've had, 9 months or so of circulating kits. And I just wanted to share some of the important takeaways in case you're not doing some kind of lending program like this. Some of the things that I've learned doing kits are, it's great to have just 1 or 2 people taking care of them and being in charge of them, because maybe it's different at your library, but there's only a couple of people that really care about any one project. And there's a lot of moving parts to these kits. So being really familiar and caring about them will be the easiest solution to making sure they're well stocked and well taken care of and get out on time to patrons. The second thing I've learned is to always prep my refills. So any of the pieces that go into the kits, I always have all the copies set up, maybe 10 deep, so that every time it comes back in, I don't have to go hunting around for things to go back in the kit. I'm all ready to put them back together. So that's another piece. And all of this information is in the documents that we sent you, and it's in the digital backpack as well. I would suggest taking a picture of your kits before you start to circulate them to your patrons. In case you get confused or forget what something means, you have a visual of what it looks like. In case you take another job and go somewhere else, that's another reason. We've packed our kits in, in these boxes in some cases, and they have holes on the end so that you can zip tie everything. So every time a kit comes in and we check it and we get it ready for the next person, we zip tie both ends so that our patrons are sure that everything that's supposed to be in there is in there and nothing has been taken out or forgotten. It's just a little security, because these kits cost, anywhere between $200 and $300 to put together. We also put a price list, and I think I included this in the digital backpack, so that you would see. At the Fletcher Free Library, we tell everybody how much everything costs, and we let them know that if items are missing, that they could be charged. We have 30 kits circulating and we haven't had to charge anyone. People have been incredible in making sure everything is neat and tidy and put back in the kit. So I'm expecting you're not going to have any trouble as well if your patrons are anything like our patrons. So that would be a packing list. You can modify this for your library because our policy is on the bottom. But if you need a policy, you might want to take a peek at that as well. Let's see, the last thing for care and maintenance is for each time you refill the kit, be sure to go and pull the evaluation card out of the booklet and attach it to the evaluation, the paper evaluation. And that way we're more likely to get some of those evaluations back, or we hope to get those evaluations back. And you'll see in all your paperwork that we would like you, if possible, to scan it and send it back to Watershed Alliance. And we've given you that address in the materials. Do you want me to continue into KIT's overview while I'm at it?
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'll just throw in, I did just put the link to the digital backpack in the chat for folks. I know I've been referencing that a lot throughout some of our emails and in-person conversations. So that link is now in there, which has some of the documents that Kate is talking about.
Okay. God, I still can't see myself. This is driving me crazy.
We can't see you either, Kate, just so you know. So if you're holding things up.
Oh, thank you for telling me, but geez, let me just peek at my video is on.
I see your hand right now, if that's helpful.
Okay, but you can't see my face.
No, it looks like we're looking at the library.
Interesting. Why am I missing from here? If I turn my camera around,
Yes,
does that help?
There you are. There you are. Great.
Somebody should have said something and raise your hand. Okay, I'm back. So, oh boy. So into the overview of kits. These kits are more, I think of, I'm a former teacher before I came to the library. So I think of them as more of a science lesson. These are family kits. Most kids are not going to be able to do these by themselves unless they're in maybe 5th grade or up. So we're really billing them to like, oh, this is a great family experience for all ages of your family. Somebody's going to be able to do pieces of it, and some of the kids are going to be able to do all of it. But generally, they should do the first kit, which is the Watershed, and then they should do the second kit, which is going out into the field and taking water quality samples. So it's for families. It's not just give it to the kids and let them go wild with it. And it's better to follow kit 1 before kit 2, if possible. It might not always work like that. But if you ever have trouble, you can always reach me at the library. I'm not going anywhere. And I don't think Ashley's going anywhere. You're going to be at Sea Grants. So between the two of us, we can hook you up with refills if you need refills, especially the test tabs will be something that will be more confusing and expensive to replace. And we'll be buying some more of those so that we have those to give to you probably for next year when you've already run out of this year's test tabs. Is there anything else that we need to know about the overview before we go into the Watershed kit models?
I don't think so. I'll just reiterate, as Kate said, we are always here to help with you. This is a project that we've kind of kicked off, and we plan to be there as a support throughout it. So if something comes up with the kids, or even if something happens, they have a question, whether it's with stream monitoring, something more technical, always feel free to reach out and connect with us. You have my contact information already, and I'll make sure that you have Kate's too if you have any kind of questions around the logistics in terms of the kind of library specs side of things.
Yeah, happy to do that. So I guess moving on to the first kit, the Watershed model. You can see me still, right? I haven't disappeared again. Oh, it just came back. Now, how did that work? Did you stop screen?
Yep, I did. I stopped screen share. So now we'll see you, Kate, as you showcase some of the items in kit 1.
Well, I feel much better because I couldn't see anything before, and it was hard to be just looking at a blank screen. So if you're in the first kit, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but some of the background behind this kit was to develop a sense of place through doing some map work with kids at the beginning. As a former teacher, I know that, work with maps, often geography is not something that there's a lot of time for at school. So this is just another opportunity for kids to practice this with their parents. It's for them to begin to understand the scope of our watershed. When people say the Lake Champlain watershed, they don't realize how big an area we're talking about, and that it's actually part of New York and part of Canada. So I think looking at maps together with your family is a neat way to develop this sense of scale, and that we're all partners, that, there are no boundaries between New York watersheds and Vermont watersheds and Canadian watersheds. We all share the same water. It's an introduction to topographic maps. So we provided these nice durable topographic maps because, again, kids don't have many opportunities in school to play with topographic maps and really understand what the lines mean and what that has to do with the slope of the land. So topographic maps, and then we give them a watershed, a small watershed activity, which is really the most fun part, that allows them to see how pollutants move around our watershed. So they've looked at the map, they start to understand the slope of the land, and then they're sprinkling on different pollutants that we give them, which allows them to see where the water flows. And in our case, it flows down into the Lake Champlain Basin. And then we drink this water, many of us do. We've provided some great books to extend the learning. So they could do this whole kit without reading these books at all, but we picked books that would add to both this one in particular. This is a Burlington author, the Jason Chin and Miranda Paul, that would really add to this experience for them. And finally, a call to action of what could they do in their community, something as simple as, changing the way they take care of their lawn with their lawn mowing and the chemicals they do or don't put on it, when they walk their dogs, and then being able to educate their friends and their family around that. So that's what Kit 1 is all about. And once they get that basic understanding about how water moves and how it brings pollutants from far away, then we move on to, let's see what the water's like in their communities. And that's Ashley. Oh, wait, but maybe I should tell you first. There's not a lot to do with Kit 1 when they bring it back. You've always got to check the materials to make sure everything's back in the kit, but that's pretty small for this one. It's the other one that's troublesome. Fill up the oil, and that's just any kind of cooking oil you have. So we figured you could get that at your house. We shouldn't have to ship that around to folks all over the state. The pollution shakers have sprinkles in them or Kool-Aid, which is easy to get. So a little bit back in those shakers. If you put too much, they're going to use it all. So just keep that in mind. Only what you really want them to use, so we don't waste it. There are paper maps to make copies of. And if they've taken the booklet, you're going to want to give them a new booklet. Hopefully they will take that booklet with them. But if nothing else, then you rip out the postcard and put it on the evaluation. But sometimes they won't take the booklet. They might not understand that. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. That sounds great.
That was under 10 minutes. That was
yeah. Kate and I were very worried about timing. Just a note, Gail, great use of the chat box. If you have questions, if you want to pop them in the chat, feel free. If you have a question that's like longer that you want to ask, feel free to raise your hand and we can just call on you to ask that too. And the other thing I was going to note, Kate, thinking that some of our libraries are actually not necessarily in the basin. And so we did have some editable versions of some of the documents. If you wanted to modify them for, like, say, I know we've got some Connecticut River folks in the room, feel free to reach out to us. We can share those and help with that. Great. So Kit 2 is basically the backpack and the kick net. So that blue backpack and that yellow kick net, Kate's got them there. Yep. That's what they look like. And so this is your stream monitoring kit. So this is the field kit. In this kit, there are some Ziploc bags that have kind of each of the chemical stations or each of the stations. So one is like a chemical bag that is going to have all of the stuff for the nitrite and the phosphorus test. It's going to have the test tab. So it's all self-contained with the test tubes in that bag. The next one, there's going to be a benthic bag that's going to have all of the stuff for that benthic macro invertebrate. So it's going to have like the net and the ice cube tray. And then there are some dichotomous keys in that as well. So that's kind of all in there with a couple of forceps and some spoons so folks can, as they capture their organisms. And then the next one is there's going to be a bag with like velocity and turbidity. So that'll be the bag that has like the ping pong balls and the stopwatch and the rope. And so those are the components. And one of the things that's really neat about this project, so I coordinate a citizen science monitoring, community science monitoring project where people actually go out and assess water quality of their local streams, and then they put that data online in a website. And so all of the work that your families and students are doing together can be entered into our website, which is really cool because it has data from all over the state and all over the Lake Champlain Basin in that. And so I'll talk a little bit more about data, but just so you kind of know, we've set it up so it basically models the stream monitoring program that we lead. So we're, the work that we're doing is meaningful, right? Students and families are collecting meaningful data. So when that kit goes out, there's a little bit more that has to be managed here just because there are things that are going to be kind of being used each time. So when the kit comes back in, things to think about, I would say, like when I made the kits, it was pretty easy for me to use that checklist with each of them and just go through and be like, okay, this, which is what Kate is showing, just be like, okay, check, it has all of these things. But specifically note that like the test tabs, the way that we've set it up, we have given you that extra supply baggie with a whole bunch more, but in each kit right now, there's only basically 2 tabs for each test to go out. So it's meant to go out, a family can use it, and then it can come back, they can run a couple tests, and then basically you'll put 2 more tabs. So you'll always kind of have to do that. And then there's a Nalgene bottle for waste. So from the test, there will be a little liquid waste with the reagent. When that comes back, that is not hazardous waste at all. It can be dumped right down it can be dumped down the sink, but we just didn't want to deal with families doing that. We thought it'd be better for you all as the librarians to just deal with that when it comes back into the library. And then there should be some gloves in there for the chemical test. Just toss a couple more pairs of those in there. And then overall, because this kit's being used in the stream, just make sure that, the net is like not covered in dirt, rinse it off, mainly also because we don't want to be transmitting aquatic invasive species from one stream to another. So as this kit moves around to different bodies of water, we just want to make sure that we're being responsible. So usually we try and have things be clean. So kind of get rid of any stuff, any like hitchhikers, things that are stuck on there. Rinse it off with a hose and then just let it dry. So put it out in the sun for a little bit if you can, or lay it out, if you have a space to just kind of let it lay out for a little bit so that it dries. That'll make sure that there's no organisms that are going to transport on it. And then it also makes sure it's not going to get kind of moldy or gross or anything like that. And the same can be said for anything that's in the kit itself. You do probably just want to find a space where you could lay that out for a couple hours and just let it dry out when it goes back. Theoretically, we've asked folks as when they borrow the kit, it's in their directions to do that, but always good to double check. And then you'll add a new Watershed Explorer booklet to the kit if they've kept it, making sure that you're taking that eval. So one of the things Kate and I were thinking about is that folks could potentially, while we're encouraging folks to do kit 1 and kit 2, they may just do one of the kits, right? They may be more interested in stream monitoring or just using the Watershed model at home. And so just make sure that those evals are getting on both of the kits. We have put QR codes. So folks have an option to either complete a written eval or they can just do it on their phone. It's a web form. They can scan it and just do it that way. So it's right. Yep. It's right at the bottom of that page. So feel free to encourage them to do either. Probably using the QR code makes less work for you all. But if you want to send us evals as they come back in, you can just scan them and send them to that email. You don't have to do anything with them. Basically, because this is a grant funded project, we do want to track the outreach and who are reaching and who's using it. And as always with everything, we want to make sure we're getting feedback, right? If something isn't working as well as Kate and I thought, we can always modify it in the future. You never know when you're teaching until you actually do it, right? And then just the photocopies of the data sheets that are in there. So there are some data sheets in there. There's that stream monitoring site. So we've provided some recommendations for your region of streams that are, basically we tried to find streams that were safe and have a pretty relative flow. So even if it's really dry, there should be a flow there. Even if it's really rainy, there should be a flow, but not too heavy that it would be dangerous. And so that will be in there. And those are the key things that I had. Kate, is there anything that you'd add to that?
Back to the test tabs, I think we put in double the amount that they need. I think we've put in 2 just in case there's a mess up So always check to see that they may have only just used one of each, and then you're halfway there for the next test kit or the next time you circulate it out. But again, if anything seems to be missing or you get confused, we get it. This can be confusing. So we're happy to talk you through it and help you find something if you think something's out of sorts.
Yeah, and Kate, you put a link in the digital backpack for kind of like a catalog restocking, right? Was there something in there?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So there is something in there kind of along that we tried to craft something that would be helpful for you all. Does anybody have any questions? We'll just pause. I know we've thrown a lot of information out there and just see if anyone. Yeah, Gail, go ahead.
I'm wondering, so I'm thinking of using this as a program, like taking out a group of homeschool kids. I know I already have a group that wants to work with me. And so I'm wondering, for the eval or for the booklets, do you recommend like maybe one booklet for, I don't want to give everybody a booklet, right? How would you do that, Kate? Do you think that everybody should, like maybe per family so that you're getting a bunch of different evaluations, or is it one as a group, we would all eval together and send in one evaluation?
I like the idea of a family, plus each family will end up with their own booklet, and there's so much information in there that they can use both with you and then after that I think it's useful for them to have their own. I think that's a great idea to do it as a program, or even for summer reading, to set up the watersheds, a couple of them. I think we gave you a couple extra, at least one or two extra. And then, you could go through the lesson and then they could actually do the watershed practice of sprinkling on the pollutions. We talked about that here at the library, as doing maybe that is like an informal passive table at the library.
Or possibly do the first kit as a group and then let the families or the groups take the second kit to do the science part on their own.
Right.
I don't know. I haven't looked at it really yet. Oh, we got plenty of water.
Has anybody used the kits on their own, just gone through and pretended they were a family playing with the kits? No. Okay. I know summer reading starts this week, so it's busy.
And we highly encourage that too, and to take an extra peek through the Watershed Explorer booklet. So there are, you'll be featuring a couple of the activities that are in that, but there's a bunch of other stuff in the booklet that, families can take and do after or before, or, whatever works out. And so, do kind of maybe take a peek at that to see what you can suggest for folks to do once they've completed each of the kits.
Other questions?
Yeah, I was just looking through the box and looking in the water velocity turbidity kit.
Yep.
And notice it says 2 people will stretch the 50-foot rope length out parallel to the water flow. Now I see there's a yellow rope in the package, but it's only about maybe 8 feet, 10 feet long. So is the 50 a typo, or are they supposed to use this 5 lengths?
50 is a typo. You're totally spot on. It's actually 10 meters.
Aha.
I think is what the measurement is, because that's what we use for stream monitoring. So that may be a little snafu on.
Okay. Good.
The first snafu.
The first snafu, making a note of it here in the PowerPoint.
Yeah, so that's the number 2. Okay.
So we will double check that and get back.
You can write on, you can make an edit on your sheet if you don't mind.
Yep, doing it right now.
Do it with Sharpie because it's plastic paper.
Oh yeah, it's special. It is special paper. that's supposed to not dissolve when it gets wet. So also keep us posted on
Darn, I
on the
thought
status
we
of how that
got
goes.
'em all.
So what should the number be in there?
Let's see, I'm pulling it out. It says we have a 50-foot rope. So it should say 10 meters.
I think it should be 10 meters. Yeah. And if someone wanted to double check the length of that, since this is already a snafu, let's not go on my basis.
Well, but isn't 10 meters about 25 feet?
Yeah. So it may be shorter than that. Is it actually only 10 feet?
It's about, I don't know, it's
Okay,
about
so-
as tall as my ceiling to floor, so a little
Okay.
over
1,
7.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Ah,
10. You should have
10
Yeah.
feet.
should be 10 feet. What does it
okay.
say? 50 feet. So it should be 10 feet.
Glad we figured that out. I guess we may have kept it. We may not have gone to meters in this one.
Darn, 10 feet. Okay.
That is okay. It makes their math easier actually, in the long run. Okay, one of the other, so I'm gonna put a link right now. So this link is to the data entry, and I'll send this all in the follow-up email. And so this is where there's also a QR code for this as well. And then you'll see each of those kind of parameters from that backpack show up. And so they'll be able to click on each of those. And there's a little checkbox at the top that says, I completed this data collection as a part of a Watershed Explorer STEAM kit. So they'll check that. And then they can enter all this information. And I believe that only a couple of data pieces are actually required. And I think it's just where they collected and what the day is. Everything else is not required data. So if they only do a part of this, or if they don't complete the whole thing, they can still enter their data. And so you can kind of click through, and this correlates with the data sheet that is in the kit.
Other questions or typos that you've noticed?
Oh, great question. Janet just put a question in the chat box. It looks like it only went to me, so I'll just say it out loud. Janet's asking if you return these materials to us at the end of the season, or if they're yours to keep. They are yours to keep. So basically, we have provided you with these kits. They're yours indefinitely. And then we have a little bit of funding to resupply things. We gave you that resupply baggie. This is a good time to talk about that. And so we basically bought a bunch of extras of everything, and we tried to set you up so that you would at least be able to kind of run through almost like a summer field season with these kits, but noting that some of those things like the sprinkles or the oil, that kind of stuff, you can go out and grab that at a grocery store. So we didn't put a ton of that. But in terms of the science equipment and stuff, that's a little trickier to order. We did try to make sure that you were well set up with that. If something happens over the course of the summer and you need something else, just reach out and we can we're trying to have a few extra things on hand so we can mail things out to folks if needed. We're happy to do that.
I'm wondering if there's a time frame, and also if there will be a follow-up that that we can come together, maybe invite kids or families to view a meeting or collect the data.
Yeah, that would be super fun.
Yeah.
Kate did have a note about field season recommendations. Did you want to talk about that, Kate?
Well, I sent a question to you because I didn't know how far into the fall you went, but I was thinking, for at least in Burlington, that April, May would be a good time to start. The ice is off and things are moving around. And then I was thinking mid-October, end of October as a field season.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
That's usually what we use for our stream monitoring program with our K-12 students, and it works pretty well. And obviously it's all dependent upon the type of season that we're having. Sorry, there's a very big truck going by. Love Vermont. So it's all dependent on the season. I mean, if it's snowing out, I would say don't send kit 2 out. Once the temperatures start to drop, we really don't want people in the streams or going near water. But I would say that kit 1 theoretically could go out year round because it's all completed at home. So maybe kit 2 is like a fun summer feature, but I would say kit 1 probably could go out all winter. It's actually a nice winter activity. And I love, Gail, I love the idea of doing like a little summit or get together, maybe like at the end of the summer, just to have folks kind of come together. We could do a little bit of a short keynote presentation on Lake Champlain or water quality, and then have maybe some families and students share kind of where they might, like, we could set something up like that. So if folks are interested in that, maybe just put your name in the chat, and I will reach back out. We can start to think about what that might look like towards the end of summer or something like that.
That sounds fabulous. I want to be in it.
Awesome. Okay, I'm just writing that note. And then does anybody else have any other like questions? I'm going to throw one more little thing out there at you all. Okay, so the other thing that I just want to bring to your attention, so we did think that some of this will be new to a lot of folks. So water quality monitoring, especially some of the chemical parameters, will be new. So we made a short little video series on each of the chemical tests that it's basically just myself and my coworker out in the field running through these tests. They are pretty simple. They follow a nice little sequence of like 4 or 5 steps, but we made a quick video. And so if folks want to reference those, we've put QR codes to those. We're all about the QR codes. We put QR codes to those on some of the forms, but just know also if you, I don't know where you're housing things, but if you wanted to have this link saved kind of on this video series on some of the chem tests, we did make some tutorials. So if you get questions from patrons, you can always direct them, be like, oh, check out, there is a video on this phosphorus test if they have a question, or dissolved oxygen and whatnot. So that does exist for you all.
And where do we find those? The how-to videos?
Yep, I just put the link in the chat, which should bring you, I'm just double checking my link now. It should bring you to the series of videos, a playlist of them. So there, it looks like there's 1, 2, there's like 7, I think, or something in there in that.
And it's also here. It's on the top of it's the first page that you put on that clipboard of their checklist for getting ready to go out into the field.
Hi, everybody. My name's Caroline Blake, and I work for Lake Champlain Sea Grant, as well as.
Sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, so we made those little tutorials. I mean, I would suggest definitely, like, we tried to make them very short, just a couple of minutes so that we wouldn't lose people. But take a peek at those so you kind of have a general sense of, if people ask you a question, you can answer it. And then I would say if anything comes up that is like, that you can't answer, don't hesitate to reach out. Myself or my coworkers will be able to like get a response back to you. We'll try and be as timely as possible to help folks out in whatever way. And if you, because I think one of the things I envision happening is if people maybe don't follow the exact protocols, they will get a very outrageous number on some of these tests, and that could lead to some stress or panic. So feel free to send them our way if that's the case. You can even, like, if they email you, CC me, put me on it. I'm happy to. One of us can respond and just ask a few questions and help get to the bottom of that. And Kate, I'm thinking that we're at the end of that. We're at the end of our PowerPoint that we had in terms of the stuff that we wanted to share. So I guess the rest of this time will be for questions or anything we missed.
No, but I just want to say that, I mean, we've been working on this for a number of months, and it's consumed us for some of those months. But I'm really excited. I can't wait for our patrons to get a hold of these kits. And I know kids in particular are eager to do real life things. And everything in these kits is real life, and stressing the importance of really engaging in your community and finding out how the world works. I think that's really important. And one of your jobs as a librarian is to get them really excited. So we hope that you'll take some time to play with the kit a little so that you can be excited for them and help them get ready to take it home. That's my hope.
So Kate and I are happy to, oh, go ahead, Gail. I see you just unmuted.
I'm sorry I keep talking, but I'm wondering if I'm wondering if most people are just planning on handing it out, or if you plan on using it as a program, as an introduction, or how would you just, I don't know. I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm wondering how people will use it.
Well, at the Fletcher Free Library, I'm going to start promoting it along with our other STEAM kits. And I'm going to tell families that the first kit is a way to learn about watersheds and how water starts in the mountains and ends up down in Lake Champlain, and some of the problems associated with our lifestyle choices. And then that they can go out and do some citizen science together, and that we're going to give them all the tools and the places to go and a place to deposit their citizen science information. And I don't have any fear that people won't want to take the kits home. And ours will circulate by the week.
Does anyone else on the call want to share kind of their thoughts on how they're going to get this out into circulation, or how they plan to market them? There was a note from Michelle who's saying that they're doing a program at the Waterbury Public Library.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I'll just say in terms of the marketing and outreach. So yesterday, it should have aired yesterday, or maybe it's airing today. I'm actually not sure, but on Across the Fence, which is a midday program, I think on WCAX, it's a UVM extension program, but I was on there promoting these kits and telling them all to have them. And I told them they would be available at the end of the month. So I didn't throw any of you under the bus, but I did say end of the month. And so basically, just so you know, I'm going to find the link for it right now, but on our website, we have not only our Watershed Explorer Challenge laid out, we have now the STEAM kits listed, and your libraries, all of the libraries that have opted in to participate are highlighted there, so that if folks are hearing about this through whatever avenues, they also can go and say, oh, you know, this is at my community in Highgate, or oh, this is at my community. I can go check this out, or there's a library near me. I know that many libraries have reciprocity in some ways. So we are trying to let folks know in the community, if they're not hearing it through you all, or maybe if they're newer patrons, they can come get the kits there. So if you start getting a flurry at the end of June, I apologize, but hopefully it'll just be a handful for each of you. I'm going to put a link to that in the chat. I just got to find it.
So I haven't had an opportunity to watch those little videos yet, but the thought occurred to me, if those are appropriate to, you know, put on your Facebook page or something as a teaser to people.
Oh.
That's a great idea. Yeah, Kate and I did try to do like a lot of the legwork for you all, so it wouldn't be like a heavy lift to get this into your rotation. So yeah, use whatever we have provided to help in your, you know, in your marketing. Or I'm actually, oh, this is so funny. Waterbury Public Library has this up. I just Googled it, and usually it takes me to my homepage, but it took me to the Waterbury Public Library page. So that's awesome. Okay, so here's I'm just putting the link in the chat for our Sea Grant page, just so you know what this looks like and what people are potentially seeing. So you can check that out there. And I was just going to say that if folks have questions, Kate and I can stay on until 4. But if you're feeling like just jazzed up and you want to go check out the kit or do something else with your day, I know it's a busy time in terms of the transition of seasons for you all. So if you're feeling good to go, thanks for joining us, and we'll be in touch. And if you want to stick around and ask some more in-depth questions, Kate and I will be here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Good luck.
Thank you all. We'll be in touch. Our folks that are hanging out, do you have some questions?